10 more Southern California rap albums. Starting off with an all-time classic, Doggy Style by Snoop Doggy Dogg, 1993, Death Row Records. Probably his best album overall. I'm going to give No Limit Top Dog his my second favorite. But this is a classic album, came out, maybe a year after The Chronic. And hard to critique this album, but if I had to pick my favorite ones, Ain't No Fun and Doggy Dog World. Badass, Personal Business. R.I.P. to Badass. He passed away a couple years ago, and I forget why. I think, unfortunately, he died in prison, and he was probably still in his 30s. I don't know the full story on that. But he was affiliated with, the Dog Pound family. He was from Long Beach. And I think this was his second full-length album, and it came out in 2001. The song on here I liked the best was... which one is it? When You See Me with Snoop. Well, it's a Snoopy Collins. And Cocaine. I guess Snoopy Collins was when Snoop Dogg would do that Bootsy Collins impression that he'd do all over the place. With the star sunglasses, that whole thing. Okay, Ice Cube, Lethal Injection. Priority Records, 1993. I like Bop Gun with George Clinton. You Know How We Do It's probably the best one on here. When I Get to Heaven, that's pretty good. And what I have here is also a copy of, I think, the preceding full length, The Predator. And I don't have the jewel case for that anymore. I don't know what happened to it. I told this story before, but my friend borrowed this and Cannibal Corpse vial. And he gave it to my dad to return to me. And it was this disc and the Cannibal Corpse disc in the vial jewel case. And I was kind of like, oh, thanks for sending that one to Dad when I was 15, but he never said anything. I'll give him credit. He never said anything. But yeah, my memory of The Predator is that this is the home of one of his most famous songs, It Was a Good Day. And back to one of my LA trips years ago, I remember I was on a patio in a place called the Blue Dog or something. It was some burger place in LA. And I just been there for like 24 hours, and they played It Was a Good Day. And I don't know, I felt very emotional. I just always loved that song, and here I was in LA with some Ice Cube at a burger place. I don't know, I thought it was cool. Schoolboy Q, Oxymoron. This came out in 2014 on Interscope. Man, time flies. But this was the release on Top Dog Entertainment after Kendrick Lamar's debut album hit it big. And Schoolboy Q's got an interesting style. I really wanted to like this, but I found it very ordinary. No songs really stood out to me. Tyler, the Creator, Corrupt, Raekwon, Kendrick Lamar, 2 Chainz, A$AP Rocky. Some pretty good guest appearances. And again, more CDRs falling out of my cases. What's this? Schoolboy Q, Habits and Contradictions. I don't know if that was before or after. And Ab-Soul, Control System. I think that was the next Top Dog album after that. I kind of fell off with all those guys. I don't really pay attention anymore. Corrupt, Space Boogie, A Smoke Odyssey. I really liked this at the time, and in hindsight, it's kind of a mainstream release. What's the one song they had on here? It's Over. That was the single. I don't really like that one. Yeah, when I say mainstream, I don't mean it was all over the radio. I just mean it was just more accessible. 2001 Antra, I gotta go with On the Grind with Daz. Can't go wrong with DJ Quick. Sunshine with John B. That's a good one. Some strange guest appearances on here. You got Everlast, Fred Durst, DJ Lethal. Huh. But yeah, again, I like this at the time, but I haven't put this on in quite a few years. Death Row presents The Dog Pound 2002. So this was put out on Death Row in 2001, and this was some unreleased material that Death Row had from The Dog Pound, and put it out probably without their blessing. But there's some solid stuff on here. My favorite song was Feels Good. Underrated album, Reincarnated by Snoop Lion. So this was Snoop Dogg's reggae album, for lack of a better word. And I thought it was really good for what it was. It was just a fun release. One summer, though, my wife and I, we kept that in the car for a whole summer. What's my favorite one on here? I'm going to go with No Guns Allowed with Drake. Not a big Drake guy, but got a lot of good memories of that song. Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar. This was not his debut full length, but the debut on Interscope, the one that brought him great success. So this was in 2012. And I thought this was a great album. Wasn't perfect, but 2/3 of it I thought was really good. And I didn't like the one after that. And then I stopped paying attention. My favorite songs on here are Swimming Pools, Poetic Justice, and Money Trees. In my last video, I talked about how I got good memories of that game song, Celebration, when I was in LA. On a different trip to LA, I remember Swimming Pools. That was the song that I walked away from. Again, just hearing it out of a lot of passing cars and stuff. And when you're in out of towner, you never forget that. I also remember I had no idea who Kendrick Lamar was before this album came out. And a friend of mine who was really into hip hop invited me to go to his concert. And this was months before the release of this album. And I didn't know how much of a hype he got, but I just see people walking around talking about how like this is the next big thing, and my friend telling me the same. I remember Drake came out for a song, and it was a cool show, and I guess it was kind of cool to see him at a fairly small venue before he blew up. Snoop Dogg, Ego Tripping. This one is Doggy Style and Geffen, 2008. And by this point, there weren't a lot of good Snoop Dogg albums, I find. Before this and after this, it just became pretty ordinary stuff. He had that album called, I think it was called Bush. And there's a song called Edibles. I like that one. I'm trying to think, is there a song on here that sticks out to me? These Hollywood Nights. I kind of like that one. The Game, LAX. I think this was his third major label release. And what's that? Second disc here. It's missing and I don't know what it is. You know what? I think this is his weakest album. There's no standout tracks as far as I'm concerned, and I barely listened to it since I bought it. That's it. I'll see you on the next one.